Welcome to Ellemonte, the Female Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Ellen van Akker, and I will be taking you along a little bit more into depth in this episode around one of the questions that I get most often when I am guiding the female talents that I mentor or coach. And that is, what do I actually want? You heard about it in the previous episode as well when I was interviewing Leonie Sandelbaum. There are simply a lot of choices. So much is possible. It's sometimes very difficult to find your own way in that and to get clear what it is that you exactly want. And yes, sure, you can let yourself guide along, and see what your journey brings and what kind of opportunity comes into your path. But I also see within our company, in any case, a lot of people let themselves guide by these opportunities. They think, something comes along and they think, okay, yeah, sure, I can take that challenge or I'll take that step. And then they grow into a certain direction in their career, while after, let's say, a year or 5 or 10 or 15, even in some cases, they've, come to a certain point where they realize, I'm not very happy with what I'm doing. And is this really what I wanted to achieve, or do I want something else? And then they start questioning the choices that they made. And that's fine. I honestly think that at every point of your career, you can still turn around and make different choices. However, I do know for a fact that the sooner you start thinking about these things and the sooner you start making your choices or get clarity around the profile that you're building or the experiences that you want to gain, the faster I think in the end that you'll grow, and the clearer it will be for your environment as well, what it is that you bring to the table and that what you want. So getting your ambitions clear is one of the most important things, in my opinion, if you want to grow in your leadership in a corporate company. You need to know what you want, so you can also be vocal about it and build your profile towards it, so that you add value. And that may simple, but I know it's not, and I know a lot of people are struggling with it. And even though I have been making conscious choices from the beginning of my career, I also find it difficult sometimes. For me, when I started working, I knew I started working for ING Lease, and that time it was a daughter company of ING, and we had our own CEO, a general manager, leading the Lease and Now business. And that for me was a role where I figured, this is what I really want to do someday. It seems so cool, you can set the strategy, you can determine your own approach to this team and guide them around whatever struggles there are, make the difficult choices, motivate them, bring them along. For me, it was kind of the full package, and that started triggering, okay, if that is what I eventually would want, what are the qualities that I need to bring? And that also led me to certain choices that I made around how deep do I want to go in certain content, how leading a team for the first time and building on my leadership skills along my journey. So I think that's a very important part of the profile that I built for myself, that I had that long-term vision. And I know a lot of people and youngsters as well are struggling with the fact, I don't know already what I want to do within 10 years time, and why would I? And I don't think you need to have that very clear, as in this is the function there that you want to move towards. But it is important that you know what kind of elements you want in there, and what it is that you want to learn, and are you getting that from those opportunities? Because you do not want to be, at least in my opinion, you do not want to be stuck over 15 years that you grew into a specialist profile and then you want to broaden yourself, because then you probably need to take a step back. And if you start being yourself and getting that clarity around what it is that you want, the more opportunities you can find and create that match that. Because when you're orienting yourself or speaking with people, mentors or whatever, the clearer you can be about what you want, the more they will be able to find opportunities for you that fit. I'll give you another personal example in this. I think around must be a year or 8 by now ago, I wanted to I had led different kind of teams, and I wanted to grow in the leadership pipeline. So basically not leading a team, but leading different teams and thus leaders on their own team. And to make that step, that's not it's not an easy one, because where do you find that opportunity, and what do you bring to the table, and what kind of roles? Within a corporate you have a lot of opportunities, different kind of areas. Do you want to go in a support role? Do you want to go in an operational one, in a sales one? There's a lot of opportunity and choices to make there. And when at that time I was talking to my boss around this, he clearly said to me, okay, you need to be you need to know what you want. Do you want to be a people person and grow in your people skills, or do you want to be a content driven person and grow from there? And that's something I think you hear a lot in corporates, also especially from men, honestly, is that it's either one or the other. So either you become the expert in the content that you know as, or you know all about legal, you know all about a product, you know all about whatever it is, and then you grow from your expertise in your leadership to different kind of leadership roles. That's path one. And path two is, okay, you're a people person, so maybe move to HR and focus on people. That was a bit of the guidance that I got from him, and that's something that I hear a lot of women also get as advice from male mentors. And I simply do not agree. I don't agree. I don't think it's a choice. I don't think it's A or B. I think if you are a people person, it's a skill that you bring to the table in your leadership, regardless of where you lead or what kind of leader, what kind of team you are leading. Being an expert in content and growing from that expertise into leadership, yes, that can happen. But getting promoted to more within that leadership pipeline, if you will. So, sorry, a leadership pipeline is the first fundament is that you lead a team. Next one is that you lead leaders, and then you are functionally leading, and you're leading a business and a department. So you grow in your scope, basically, and your responsibility in your leadership. And one of the most common mistakes that happen in corporates or in a lot of big companies is called the Peter's principle, and that is basically promoting somebody that is very good at what he or she does, and promoting them in their leadership because of it. But being a skilled expert in what you do is not a leadership quality. So sometimes you see that people get promoted up till a point where they just dysfunction, where they are no longer doing their job very well because it's not their skill anymore. If you are a die-hard salesperson and you get those deals and you're very good at building your portfolio and you're always at the top of the chart, let's say, in the deals that you bring, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a good department head and you're going to be able to bring people along, to motivate them, to give them the space to grow in their own way into building deals. It means that you're good at that job. So in my opinion, and it's not only an opinion, it's also research, it's not a reason to promote and to grow in your leadership. So my advice would be, if you get this advice, don't hold too much to it. If you're driven by the content, if you're motivated by it, sure, explore and grow in that context. But if you want to grow your leadership, no, you do not need to be the expert in what you're doing, because it's all about, do you understand the high level things that are ongoing? Can you make a difference between detail and the high over level and the high over points that you need to address? Do you understand the context, and can you ask relevant questions? That's what you need to know in leading a content-based team. You need to have a feeling with the content, you need to want to understand, and you need to feel passionate about what's going on. Because if there's a mismatch in, for example, if I would be leading but the business of my husband is basically smart buildings in sensors, and they create sensors that allow you to optimize all the data you get from your building. So it's pretty cool, but I don't get it. I don't understand how it works. I don't have the technology in me, and it's high over nice for me to know, but I'm never going to be grasping all the aspects that come along. So don't put me in charge of a team like that. put me in charge of a product that I know and that I'm curious about. Because I think that's, if you want to excel at something, you need to be passionate about something. I've been at departments where I know, okay, this is not my product, I don't feel it, I don't own it, so I'm not going to be very interested in getting into the depth of it. So yeah, my key point here was that at that time I was steered towards choosing A or choosing B. I know my manager was a content person, so I kind of felt the need to please him into, okay, exploring that a bit further and growing into that. That combined with where you mentioned, okay, if you want to grow in your people leadership skills, go explore an HR kind of department. That felt not good for me. Didn't want to do that because it kind of pushed me in this pattern of, okay, that's where the females go. It's more of a female-oriented department or so, and it did not feel good for me. Plus, I'm just interested in content. I'm not the expert, so I struggled there quite some time to, let my own feelings around this be more dominant than the advice I was getting from him. But at a certain point I did, and I also got voices from other people around me, and I saw other people doing it the other way as well, so that strengthened me also in my thinking, and it was at the point where I really started to believe and see also where my potential would lie in other departments where I just could combine these things, that I had a very strategic and a very clear view about my vision for that department and where I would bring them, combined with, yes, I have people skills and I will bring people along. That's where I started seeing that added value and was able to be vocal about, this is what I'm going to bring to the table. That's the point where I got the opportunity to do so. So summarizing, you need to know what you want. It doesn't mean that I had very sharp, okay, this department, yes and no, but I was able to frame the context that it needed to have, right? So you need to be able to be explicit in what kind of jobs do you want. So, for example, I want to be involved in deals and lead a team there. Okay, clear, and then we'll see what kind of opportunities come along there. I want to head my own department where I can, learn how to lead different teams. But at the same time set that strategy and accelerate on the change, also clear, and then we'll find an opportunity. Yeah, so this kind of frameworks is good to have clear for yourself, so that you can share it around and see what kind of opportunities are created from there. Yeah, and then again, I think, so it's a personal example that I'm sharing you, easier said than done. If you're listening to this and you are thinking, I'm at this point where I know I'm ready for something else, but I'm not quite sure what direction to take. I can choose from 10 different things, let's say, that I continue, and I want to be sure that I make a right choice there, and don't how do you say that? Don't put myself, don't limit myself by the choices that I make in a later stage. I'll share a few steps that you can take into getting your ambitions clear. Yeah. The first step that you can take is try to visualize your ideal future. Yeah. So imagine yourself in the future, living your ideal world. What will you see? What kind of things did you want to achieve? And I think a question that kind of triggers that in a higher level is, what if you would have all the money in the world and you would experience no limitations whatsoever, not from your family, your friends, or the fact that you want children or not, or whatever it is. Leave those limitations aside. You win the lottery, you have all the money in the world. What would you be doing? What kind of work would you be doing in the rest of your life? I think that's a very good question to visualize and to get a bit of an understanding into what it is that you find important for yourself. Yeah, what gives you energy and what can drive you. So that's the first step you can take and you can think about. The second one is basically to frame the conditions around it. So if you think about what truly matters to you and what you're passionate about, so if you have visualized your ideal future, what kind of aspects in there are very important, and why? Why are you passionate about it? And think about your core values, the interests that you have in general, the skills that you bring to the table. And reflecting on all these aspects of yourselves can help you identify ambitions that are more in line with your authentic self. So, really think about your strengths and your weaknesses as well, and think about it honestly, confrontational maybe for yourself, but really try to get to the point what your strength is, what it is that you bring to the table that makes you stand out from the rest. If you ask people around you what it is that they see in you that makes a difference. Because if you recognize what your strengths are, it will be easier to find ambitions that are aligned with your skills. And I think that's very important, because you need to work from your strengths in order to excel. Same with passion. If you're not working on something that's really interesting to you, or that is putting you in a that's creating an environment around you where that identifies the things that you need, the core values that you need, that allows you to grow in your strengths, you are not going to stand out. You're not going to excel. You can do a good job, yes, but you're not going to be on top of the game. And your weakness is same here. I think a lot of people, and yes, also females, tend to focus on weaknesses. If you get feedback, you hear, at least I do, when I get feedback, the first thing I hear is, okay, that I did not do that good. So that's not, so I try to down myself every time when I hear feedback, and focus on what I can do different to be better. While it's a pity, because you bring yourself down, and it's not helpful in any case. However, it is important to know what your weaknesses are, so you can anticipate on them. Anticipate on them by either developing them if it's something that you really need in all kinds of areas, and you can put focus on that and be aware of them in any case. But it's also something that you could delegate or avoid, or seek help on. So that's why it's important to know your weakness. Let me give you a personal example here as well. For me, I think one of the things that I'm really good at is that I speed things up. I have some kind of drive to continue in a pace. I'm not very patient. So that's my strength and my weakness at the same time. And that's often, by the way, the case, probably also for you, if you're very good at something, and then it's also your weakness at a certain point. So for me, the fact that I want to move fast and continue and put things in motions is my strength. I'm good at accelerating change, basically, and that's where I also focus on in my career. At the same time, I know that I really need to pay attention on not going too fast, because I might lose people, not speaking too fast because people might not follow, repeat myself because maybe sometimes I think I've said it but people haven't heard it. So it is something that I really need to pay attention to and be aware of in my day-to-day job and in everything that I do. So that's why it's important for me to know that, to acknowledge that, and to find a way that it works for me. On the other hand, a weakness is something strong, maybe something that you're not good in. Sounds better than a weakness, but if you know that you do not get energy, again, looking at me, by filling in a lot of forms, a lot of administration that takes like months, where you need to put people in a room and have them think about it and come back to it in a few weeks, and we have these processes and processes in a project that need to happen, that needs a lot of alignment, and these are very important. I acknowledge that they're very important. It's just not my strength. It's not where I get a lot of energy from. It's where I lack energy at. Because I noticed that it's not motivating me, and it's not something where I'm very good at because of it. So honestly, I just try to avoid it. Not meaning that I'm not doing them, I'm just asking other people who can help me with that. And sometimes it's a win-win. I think in most cases even it's a win-win. Or at least that's where you start building a good team. If you can match somebody's passion and strength into another person's, let's say, weakness or disinterest, if you can match these skills and put people in their strengths, it's becoming a complete team where everybody has their role and helping each other. So that's also something you need to create for yourself. Well, and that all around frame the conditions. So basically it's around self-awareness. You frame your own conditions in the environment that you need to thrive in, and that can help you in getting your ambitions ready. So self-awareness, reflection, making sure that you know yourself and what you need, and how you can frame the conditions around your job and ambitions that you want. That's the second step. Third step is to basically fill in the gaps. So you then have a picture around, okay, this is my future, where I want to go, and this is what I have and what I need. Okay, how can I fill in these gaps? How can I maybe work on a project to get this kind of experiences if I'm lacking it? What kind of jobs could maybe be a beautiful in-between step that give me certain development points that I need for that ideal future, or whatever. And so it's also self-awareness here, and you need to think about it. You need to go and drink a lot of coffee with people that have positions that you aspire, to get an understanding about what the job is, about what requirements are, and then you can start filling in, okay, do I already have that? And am I ready for that step, or do I need an intermediate step? And the beauty of this is that while you're doing that, while you're having these coffees, you are also activating your network, and you start voicing out what your ambitions are. So it's a win-win in that case. It's your own desk research, and it is at the same time a first step that can help you activate opportunities, because that's a very important part into getting opportunities. You need to create them yourself, and you do so by being vocal about them. So that's a three-step approach I think you can take today if you are searching in getting that clarity. Maybe also good to mention is that I have launched a female leadership accelerator. It will run for the first time on the 29th of September in 2023. That's the first time it will run, and it will start, and that is for sure covering this part as well. So I know that there's a certain structure around how do you get this clarity, steps you can take. This is exactly where I mentor a lot of the female talent around, and I've been able to explore myself also on what works and what not. I've created a workbook that helps you gathering these ideas, and in the Female Leader Accelerator, it's a module that we'll touch upon, and I'll help you along these steps into how you can get clarity around all these different questions, around your future ambitions, around what is your passion, around the conditions that you need, that self-awareness that you need to create, etc. And then start getting clarity about your ambitions and being able to really be vocal and clear about it to others. So if you could use a bit more help next to the thoughts that you might have, or the inspiration you got out of this podcast, then check out www.thefemaleleadershipaccelerator.com. I'll also put it in the show notes of the podcast. And you can still enroll as long as you're before 29th of September. And if not, you can put yourself on a waiting list for the next time. All right, I hope you got some inspiration, some clarity around getting your ambitions clear into why it is important, but also how you can do it. And thanks for listening, and I hope to see and hear you again soon.